And welcome back to eBEFOREi Video Reviews. Today we're taking a look at a pair of Duocons, or is it one single Duocon? It is Transformers, RoadTrap, and BattelSlash. Now together, they form a single larger bot called Battletrap. You get all that? It can be confusing. So this is based off of a Generation 1 concept in which two vehicles would come together to form a single bot, one personality, and now with two figures that form vehicles and robots, and then they form the bigger bot, you could say, well, now they're just different characters, right? Oh no, not so fast. If you read the back of the cards, it actually tells a slightly different story that perhaps these two are just one single personality, two different bodies. Think of all the destruction and chaos that can cause. We're going to cover all that and more right here on eBEFOREi Video Reviews. All right, so here they are on the table, and they both are pretty decent vehicles, considering the gimmick here. It really doesn't feel like much of a gimmick outside of some ports that you can see there. But right now, we're kind of spinning around RoadTrap, and he's a serviceable Legends or Legion scale. Yeah, he looks good. He's an SUV. He's got blue paint. Actually, that's a straight-up lie. He's got blue plastic. There's a difference. He's got yellow lights, some silver on the front, nice red windows right here, some yellow on the top, nice Decepticon symbol on what becomes his chest. Wheels, yeah, unpainted, but cool, tiny little thing. On the bottom, you can see a robot head that's kind of tucked underneath, but all in all, not a bad little SUV. Getting on to BattelSlash, a very serviceable chopper. As you can see, nothing's constricting the blade. As a helicopter toy, it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a Robotech look. It's just kind of cool. As far as the paint applications are concerned, it is kind of the boring grayish off-white plastic, but it works with this figure. Nice blue paint on the front where the windshield would be, and the Decepticon symbol on top of that, which is gorgeous. Love symbols. Got a little bit of red trim right there, some blue plastic in the back, a little bit of purple trim on the side. Underneath you have, what becomes some robot bits, including the Decepticon symbol that would be on the chest. But overall, this really does work. And in both cases, it's not like you've got what I would consider to be just extreme kibble. Yeah, there's a head, and yeah, you can make out some ball joints. But overall, for the scale, these figures in vehicle mode both work very, very well. Let's get RoadTrap transformed. What we're going to do is we're going to come around to the bottom. You're going to take these wheel pieces and you're going to move them out just like this. What that does is it frees up what the arms and the hands, and you see them right here. And so we're just going to kind of wiggle these things loose, kind of pull them out a little bit. You can take the head at this point, lift this whole joint up, and if you want to go ahead and spin the head around, you can. Now I'm going to take this hinge right here, and I'm going to hinge this thing around and move it all the way to the front. There is a tab. You can kind of see right here, that's a tab, and there's a little bitty slot, and it's just going to kind of slot in. Makes a little bit of a click, but it's nice and solid. Now we're going to take the chest component, we're going to break that up a little bit. It's on a dual hinge. You can see that little hinge, there's one and there's two, and we're going to hinge the whole thing up like that. So that's going to ultimately become his chest. So hinge those together, and then they do tab, I believe, on the inside when you push them up, and then you meet those pieces together. And so now you've got a chest formed. Now we're going to come down to the feet. We're going to separate them like this. Then we're going to come and take this piece right here, and we're going to move this over to the top, which makes it easy to pivot the foot like that. So you see what I did? Let's rinse and repeat on the other side. We're just going to lift this up, then pivot the foot, and it positions that right on top. Now I'm going to tuck these wheels back in. And the chest, the reason mine's not staying all together that well at the moment, let's get zoomed in there. You want to not only put these two pieces together here, but these two fit right there at the collar. So I'm going to push those together and then squeeze it into the front like that. It's a nice solid connection. And at this point, you're ready to stand up your RoadTrap, pose up your RoadTrap, and what you have is a great looking figure. I mean, he looks really nice to me. The detail is great. The paint really pops on it. Altogether, I think this is a really cool figure for this scale. Lots of posability, and that's really the theme with this figure overall, is that there's lots of posability. Let's take a closer look. Face sculpt looks really nice. I like that look a lot. Again, the colors from the vehicle mode really kind of pop up onto the chest and make the overall figure look really nice. You've got the Decepticon symbol painted on, as well as the white paint, yellow paint, black paint, red up on the shoulders, onto the feet. Again, it's the front of the vehicle, but it just works really, really well together. As for articulation, his arm is on a ball joint, but it's really stiff on mine. That's what she said. But anyway, but yeah, you got a lot of different movement there, but it's really tight. But it is a ball joint. You also have a ball joint in the elbow. There's no fist articulation, no waist articulation. The head is just on a swivel, so you can turn it all the way around. Ball joint on the legs. The knees, you get up to 90 degrees of a bend. And because of the ball joint where the knee is and the size of the figure, you can get a little bit of what kind of seem like ankle pivot, even though it is just really you bending it at the knee. All in all, a great looking bot. Let's get him aside and move on to BattelSlash. BattelSlash is what I believe to be the more complicated of the two figures, but he's not that bad as long as you kind of know what you're doing. So what we're going to do at first is you'll find that this is kind of pegged at the top into this hole in the back. Oh, and I should say also that you can take Titan Master figures, you can put them into their little matrix core mode and peg them into the back of both of these vehicles. So that's a thing that you are welcome to do if you want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and get this unpegged like that. I'm going to go ahead and separate the back bit right there. Then I'm going to separate the top, the little arm pieces, and if you want to lift this part up and give you a little bit more room to work, then I'm going to take the arms themselves and separate them. And now this is on a joint here, so I'm going to flatten out these joints and bring them down like that. What that's going to do is it'll give, and I'm going to collapse this again, it'll give the legs clearance, because these are ultimately going to be the legs. I'm going to move these all the way down on that hinge, and you want to put it all the way down, but before you go all the way, you want to take this bottom piece, this is a connector port, and you need to move that to the back, because if you don't, you can't tab these legs into the bottom. So it's on a dual hinge right there, so you're going to take this whole thing down, and then hinge it in, and peg the two pieces together, and that's going to ultimately form the legs in this mode, and you can see some fists. I keep calling it legs because they are in this mode, but after you transform him into the larger bot, they become something else. I'm going to take these pieces, move them on the inside, then I'm going to take the entire leg joint and spin it at the knee. Now you've got feet instead of fists, so now what I'm doing might make more sense to you. I'm going to open up this chest piece right here in the front. I'm going to pull out the head for BattelSlash and collapse that back up. We're almost done here. I'm going to take the arm and unpeg the fists and bring this whole thing down. That's on a bit of a dual joint as well. So I'm going to bring it down like that. Now you've got a swivel right here, and I'm going to take the arm and make sure that that's on the inside. It should already be. You've got to take the arms, which are, there's another joint here. Again, this one's kind of complex. You need to move that on the inside so that you can peg this, and here's a peg hole right there and a peg right there, and you're going to marry them up. Give them some wine, play some sweet music. Then you can bend them at the elbow, and you've got that arm formed. It's really not that hard. Once you do this a few times, it just kind of instinctively makes sense to what you need to do. But I'm bending this again on the inside. Then I'm going to collapse this in and peg it into that joint. And you can lift the whole thing back. It'd probably make it a little bit easier for you. Peg it together, and that makes the arm nice and secure. Then I'm going to take the elbow, put the joint on the inside, and at this point, you're ready to take your BattelSlash, stand him up, pose him up, and again, I got another awesome Legend scale figure. This guy looks great. Yes, he's got the helicopter blade on the side of his arm, but that's a weapon. Hello. That's cool. I really dig the way that this guy looks. He's kind of wide-hipped, the way that his legs kind of pop out, but because of all the functionality and really the kind of stocky nature of how he looks, I think he pulls this off real well. All the way around, he's just a sweet-looking bot. No issues whatsoever with the way he looks. Let's get in closer. Head sculpt is awesome, and the paint's really well done on this figure too, I should say. Nothing seems to be bleeding outside of the lines. I'm zoomed in super close. The eyes look great with the red, silver in the paint above the unpainted plastic helmet. Overall looks wonderful, and for you customizers out there, probably paint that helmet a pretty cool color too if you're into that sort of thing. I would screw it up, so I don't do those sort of things. Decepticon symbol on the chest, purple inside of the chest bit right there, and the way that everything just comes together really works for me. Now, articulation, head again is on a swivel. You can turn the head all the way around. There is some limited movement in the arm because of the way that it's on a ball joint, but it faces forward. You can move it in just about any direction you want, but you do have some limitation because of the way that joint hits. Due to transformation, you can swing this around and get some interesting poses out of the fists themselves. The fists do not turn, the waist does not turn. There's a ball joint in the leg, but there seems to be a good bit stopping it from moving very far. Leg goes back to 90 degrees, and there's no foot or ankle pivot at all. Here's how they look together, which I think they look great together, and for some scale and size comparisons. So scale, they're right in line with the other mini-bots. I mean, they are the Legends scale, and they scale really well. Size, they're just about right with all the other figures of this class. But yeah, they fit right into scale, and the fact that they combine into basically a deluxe size figure really is cool. I think it's pulled off so well. Let's get to those cards, and then we'll transform him into Battletrap. So here are the cards that I have for RoadTrap and BattelSlash, and look what it says. By the way, my particular cards are Nexus, RoadTrap, and Amalgamous BattelSlash. RoadTrap says, combines to form a Duocon with any bot. All right, that's interesting. But here's where it gets even more interesting. BattelSlash takes the form of RoadTrap, so it seems there are two of him. Get what I'm saying here? They're basically implying that the Duocons are a single entity, even though they're two bots that form two different vehicles, a single hive-like mind. And that's awesome. I think that's a really cool story. Now, I've got BattelSlash put back into his helicopter mode because to put him in Battletrap, it's kind of easier to start from this way, and this is the way the directions show you to change him from, so I've got him back here. Now, to get him transformed, what we're going to do at first is I'm going to lift this front piece right here, which basically frees up the arms. So I'm going to untab that, undo the arms, and I'm going to take this joint and I'm just going to bring them all down like that, and you can just leave it there for now. Now I'm going to turn the whole thing around. I'm going to come around to the other side and I'm going to open up the arm joints, and I'm just going to point them down like that. And then I'm going to flip this piece right here so that the arms are going to end up on the inside like that. Rinse and repeat on the other side. Then with the arms like this on the inside, you're going to bring them up. And then you're going to collapse them together. You want to bring the helicopter blade onto the inside. Then the arms are going to peg together like that, and you trap the blade. Now there's another way that I like to do this, and I got this from Pial's review, and I think it's much better than this, but I'm going to start it like this because this is what the directions show. Now I'm going to separate this right here, and instead of bringing the entire thing down, which formed the legs before, I'm going to bring it down just like this to form the arms. And there's a peg hole and a peg, and I'm going to peg that together. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, just bring it down and peg it in, just like that. While this front panel's open, I'm going to take Battletrap's head, and I'm going to lift it up on that joint, collapse the chest back again. Then I'm going to spin this around, which were the legs. Now they're fists, and then I'm going to take this and put it on the inside, like that. And I basically have the top part of Battletrap. All right, we'll set him aside. Now I'm breaking my own rule here for RoadTrap because I think RoadTrap's a little bit easier to go from robot mode into his what become the legs of Battletrap. So what we're going to do at first is while the legs are already looking like this, I'm going to take the arms and I'm going to separate the chest, and then I'm going to bring everything down. And I mentioned the arms. I'm going to go ahead and swing these around like that. Do the same thing over here. Then I'm going to take the chest again and bring it down on that dual joint. And after I bring it all the way down, there's a tab right there that's going to fit into that slot. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a squeeze. We'll do the same thing over here and show you what I mean. Take this down like that on the dual hinge, and then tab it into the slot. You can see the slot on the inside. Just give it a push, and it's nice and snug at that point. Then I'm going to take this section. You've got a tab right here and a tab right there, and I need to tab them both back in. So you just kind of got to wiggle it till you find the sweet spot. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to bring that all the way around. Tab it in. Tab it in. And I say it's easier in this mode because I'm going to leave the head exactly where it is. The head becomes the connector port, and you're ready to make that connection. Now, the reason that I think Pia had the right idea with the backpack here is because the blade kind of gets warped. Like you got it in there, it's hanging down low, which I don't love. And the fact that you've got pressure on this piece of plastic tells me that in time the helicopter joint's going to be no good. So what I like to do is take the backpack, separate the arms like that, then I'm going to take this piece. So ultimately what's going to happen is that this is going to bend over like this, and then this is going to plug into the fist. So basically this tab right here goes into that. And so you're going to bend it like this, put them together, and look what this does. It forms a nice kind of a V on the back, still allows that to spin around. And from this side, and again, it's not unusual for a robot that turns into a helicopter for the blade to be exposed. And you got less of it hanging down, which is cool. And on the back, I mean, no matter which way this orients itself, it doesn't look out of place. So now you're ready to stand up your bot, pose up your bot. I mean, there's just so much posability you can do with this. Battletrap overall is such a great looking bot. I mean, he really comes together nicely. Now on video, you know, when I'm looking at it through the camera, he's kind of got this bow-legged looking look to him. You know, not that there's anything wrong with that. But in person, it looks totally fine. So it must be just kind of the way that the light and the angles hit it. But it really does come together nice in hand in a way that I think that maybe videos and photography doesn't quite capture. Let's take a closer look. The head sculpt is great. I mean, this really just captures everything I love about Transformers. He's got that kind of overpronounced chin, the helmet over the visors. The paint applications are fantastic. There's no issues whatsoever with the paint. Very, very well done overall. Now, on the rest of the figure, everything that was in the vehicle mode for the helicopter carries over into the bot mode here, including the chest, the Decepticon symbol, which is now perfectly centered and awesome right there in the middle, red trim there, and then the legs are exactly what you've seen before. As far as his articulation is concerned, his head is just on a swivel, so there's no ball joint, there's no up and down, although I guess you can take the whole thing and move it down. So if you want to have him look, yeah, that would actually work out all right. The arms are on a ball joint, so there's plenty of movability. And you can see that the shoulder is not hindered at all by the arms being in this position. It just has zero effect. There's actually no rubbing against that, I don't believe. Maybe a tiny little bit. But overall, that holds together really well. Now, my figure, the chest doesn't quite want to peg into the arm joint on his right arm the way that it does his left arm. This is really solid. If I pull on it, it comes undone. This one's a little bit more loose than the other. And just to show you where it pegs in, again, there's a peg hole right there, and then a peg on the back. And so all these come together in a perfect world and holds it secure. Let me try to repeg that back. Yeah, it's just not an awesome fit. So when I try to move the arm up like that, it's going to bring up. That is kind of a bummer for me, although I don't really, play real rough with these toys. So not an issue, but if I were a kid or I wanted to play a little bit more aggressively with these things, that might bug me a little bit. As for the waist articulation, he has it, which is cool. Finish up the arms, I should do. The elbows on a ball joint as well. No fist articulation. He also has a little bit of an ab crunch that you can do because of this joint right here. You can take the whole thing and kind of bend him down like that. So again, the posability on this guy is really awesome. Legs are on a ball joint. There's a swivel here. There's a bend in the knee. You can get the knee beyond 90 degrees, and then a swivel into the feet. So there's just a lot of movement that you can do on this guy. Again, if you're into posing figures, I think there's a lot that can be done with this particular guy. For size comparison, as I mentioned earlier, he's about at deluxe size. Let me throw in a couple of figures here for you to compare him to. Power of the Prime Swoop. Swoop's taller, mainly because of that piece right here. I think if you went head or top of forehead onto the other, that they'd be about the same size. Misfire, because of the wings and the back, he seems to lack that bulk. But again, he is basically deluxe size. Let's get him back next to another smaller mini-bot. There's Beachcomber, who was in an earlier shot, and you can see he's quite a bit taller than your average mini-bot. Double the size, actually. Overall, this is a totally fun robot that I'm really, really having a good time with. I think sometimes Transformers can be, a little bit too complicated or too simple, or, he doesn't pose quite right, or there's just little things that are not right about the figures, and this one really kind of hits the sweet spot on all points. It's fairly complex for its class. The sizes are perfect for mini-bots. When you put them together, it's a perfect size for a deluxe. It can go on your shelf and fit in either form or configuration. Overall, I think this is a great fun toys. I should also note that these are absolutely sold separately, so you're not going to get them, at least at the moment, in a combined pack. So be on the lookout for both if you're hunting these down in the store. That is BattelSlash and RoadTrap, who together indeed form Battletrap. Thanks again for watching eBEFOREi video reviews. I appreciate each and every one of you. The absolute best thing that you can do for me if you enjoy my channel is to spread the word. Let your friends know about eBEFOREi video reviews. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know every time I release a new video. You can catch me on social media. I'm on Facebook.com/eBEFOREi. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at eBEFOREiNet, and all of my videos can be found at youtube.com/eBEFOREiNet. Thanks again. We'll see you back here real soon.